Retrogame Talkshow.
Okay, people of the world, people of the retro game world, this planet of nostalgia and obsessive behavior.
What are you rambling about?
I'm rambling about absolutely nothing because we are back with a kind of a special episode.
Very special.
Yeah, we decided actually a few hours ago to do this spontaneous recording. We call this random ramblings. So you are listening to Random Ramblings number 1 by Retrogame Talkshow. And to be serious for 3 seconds, we've been super busy with our regular work for the past 2 weeks. So our next normal length episode will be released sometime later. So we are sorry for this, because usually today should be the day when we, push things out normally. But we got this idea of doing this thing quickly to talk about random retro gaming stuff, at the same time doing this sort of a message to you guys that we're on the episode number 5. It's going to come out hopefully within a week. And yeah, but we decided to just, a few hours ago, hey, let's set up the microphone, no scripting, just talk about some stuff, maybe go through some for example, feedback. And, so Jari, can you start the feedback section?
Sure thing. Well, I could start with a comment I received from another one of our local Rovaniemi listeners, actually my cousin, who said that after having listened through our 3rd and 4th episodes back to back, which is recommendable, he got inspired to dig deeper into C64 games, which is very recommendable, particularly as he was originally an NES gamer, So, hey, first of all, thanks for the compliment, and that's exactly the sort of thing we aim to inspire.
I love that there are guys in the north of Finland, Rovaniemi area, and the what do you call it, Laponia area, who are
Lapland. Yeah.
Lapland. They are in the deep forest playing C64 and NES.
Yeah, he had an NES when he was young, so.
Wow.
So getting into C64 at this age, like 30 years on, is kind of rare, I have to say. And if it comes from listening to our Retro Game Talk show, all the better. Cool.
That's a nice compliment, That's actually a nice compliment, and it's not the first time when friends of ours and also random people have been writing that, hey, I listened to your podcast and it made me, download some emulator and play some games. And the last 2 episode 3 and 4, for you guys who haven't listened, we spoke about the Commodore 64. We spoke about hardware and about a lot of games.
A lot of games. And I knew that when we started to script and record those 2 episodes, I knew deep inside that there will be games that won't be mentioned because of time. And there's, and still both episodes became something like together maybe 2.5 hours long or something like that, which is something like crazy. That, yeah.
And so I was kind of waiting for some sort of feedback that, hey, you missed out on my favorite game or something.
But we missed on our favorite games as well, but there's so many favorites.
Yeah. And we also had those, the list of disappointments and recommendations. So when you think about it, we mentioned 3 of our biggest disappointments, but we didn't mention some of the games we actually played a lot. Because, there's so much to talk about. But one specific game that we got some feedback on for not mentioning was by one of our most dedicated listener, Mikael Hylén from Sweden, who wrote to us that, great episode, but I was kind of surprised you didn't mention Fist 2, The Legend Continues. And it's so, and I also see it kind of also surprised me in a way that we didn't do that, because it is a game that I actually played pretty much, and that is kind of deep and has a cool soundtrack, and it's one of those games that very few players actually have completed.
For a reason too.
Yeah, that should be said. For a reason. It's buggy. The first version that came out is very buggy, and the map doesn't really make
much
sense. And so anyway, Mikael Hylén decided to finish the game because of our podcast. You know, still we didn't mention the game, but it made him, you know, make the decision of, hey, I really want to complete this game. So he downloaded sort of a recent, one of the latest patch for it, and he played it on the emulator, the C64 emulator, and used, you know, downloaded a map and, you know, using save states and whatnot. But he managed to go through the whole game. And I think it took him 4 or 5 hours. And during that time,
it's a long game.
Yeah, but it's so cool. Because he got so nostalgic when he told me about it. Because he sent me some voice messages like, you know, I'm on this mission now. I decided I'm going to do this. I'm getting ready. I have 5 liters of coffee. And I have a good map, because he found some different maps, you know. He was like, this is the good map, and I have a good version of it that is not buggy, and then he was reminiscing some stuff from school. When he was in school, there was rumor about one of his classmates had finished off. He had completed Phys 2. And Mikael,
I can't believe it.
Mikael started to ask him, hey, how did you do that thing? And then the guy who finished off the game, he was, you know, you jump into a volcano, you know. And Mikael was like, wow, that sounds so cool. And well, anyway, you know, Mikael sent me some screenshots. He sent me some
You sent me the screenshots too.
Yeah, it was actually more like a picture of his setup when he was playing the game. You know, his monitor, and his next to the monitor was the tablet with the map and the coffee cup. And
hey, if you go on Instagram, on our Instagram page, Retrogame Talkshow, you can see this picture right there.
Yeah, I got the permission from Mikael to upload that picture that he sent me, so that's really cool. Check that out. Yeah, but congrats to Mikke too. After, what is it, 30 years, he finally completed Phys 2.
Congratulations.
Yeah, great stuff.
What else?
What else should we mention? I have actually a thing I want to mention. I got a package delivered to my apartment. About 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
A package dumped down in my mailbox, and I opened it, and it was one of the most epic T-shirts that I've ever seen. And it's a black T-shirt with a really cool Commodore 64 logo on it.
Cool.
And it was a gift.
Are you going to show it to us?
You know what? I'm going to take a picture of it and put it on our Instagram.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. So it might be up.
You can see it later on.
Yeah, it might be up when you listen to this already. But yeah,
cool.
It's a gift from my dear American friend Sean in Idaho. And I think it was such a great gift, and I'm so thankful for that. It's beautiful, and it fit like a glove when I put it on. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I cannot gain anymore, and I cannot lose any more kilos. I'm gonna stay exactly like I is now, just to be able to wear that T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's actually one of those T-shirts that I've seen in some feed, like some kind of ad feed for the past years, and I've always reacted to it. I'm like, that looks too good to be true. I'm not going to click on that ad. It looks too good to be true. And now I saw it in real life. Like it's an amazing T-shirt. It looks really cool.
It does look good to. It does look too good to be true.
A friend of mine asked, "Is that real retro? Is that from the 80s? Because it looks really kind of worn in a kind of cool way, you know." Yeah, so thanks so much, Sean.
I've been looking for a retro themed T-shirt for ages, but I can't seem to find anything that suits my purpose. I don't know what it is about me and T-shirts, but there's just something that is not cool enough for me to buy. And if it is, then it's too damn expensive for me to buy.
You should definitely consider, designing your own and send it to one of these companies that print.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Like, what would that be?
I have no idea.
Like
something I gotta think of.
Like just a picture of the whiz ball, like straight, just the green, very pixelated, Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but another thing. I have an old friend, Finnish old friend who works in a bank. His name is Jari.
Does he work in West Bank?
No, he doesn't work in West Bank. And no, we hadn't been in contact for quite some time, and he sent me out of nowhere. I received some pictures from him. He sent me a direct message, some pictures of old bread box Commodore 64 in a box together with some original tape games. Like I saw Congo Bongo there. I thought it was so cool that somebody has that original tape. That's cool. And anyway, and I asked him like, hey, what's up? You're sending me all these pictures. We haven't spoken for a long time. And then he mentioned to me that he accidentally bumped into my name when he was looking for some retro game podcast in general. So he had just, went to his podcast app or whatever and just Googled retro game. And one of the first hits he got there, he saw my name and he was like, hey, I didn't know that. And he clicked on that and, hey, I know that guy. And he had no idea that I was doing a podcast because he's not on Facebook, so he hasn't been in that feed, So that was such a cool thing that he accidentally found our podcast and, recognized my name.
That's good news on so many levels.
That felt great that somebody randomly stumbling upon our podcast, that's cool.
Cool.
Yeah, another one more little story from what has been going on. I played a show with a few friends downtown Helsinki, and I saw a guy in the audience who was he came in alone to the pub, and he was wearing exactly that same T-shirt
that you got
that
from
I got from Sean. But it was
That's random.
Yeah, it was brown instead of black, but otherwise exactly the same design. And I between two songs, I took the microphone from our singer and I was like, hey, that's a really nice T-shirt you got there. I'm going to play you a little tune. So I was sitting behind the synthesizer and I pulled up my Giant Sisters sound and I played the Giant Sisters theme, and his eyes just, opened up and he looked like he was about to faint. He was so excited.
Oh, that's cool.
So I made it into a quiz, hey, what game is this? And I started to play it, and 0.7 seconds later, he screamed, Gianna Sisters! And then we played a few songs, and then after another song, I played some Bubble Bubble, and he was shouting, Bubble Bubble! And then after our show, I went, walked up and talked to him, and it's very easy to bond with somebody who is a C64 enthusiast. There's like, it's like a complete icebreaker from the very beginning. You feel like you belong in the same team,
Definitely.
And he told me a very cool story about that. We were kind of the same age. He told me a story that he grew up programming on the C64. So while his buddies were into gaming and everything, he was kind of more into this programming he said that the C64 programming was helping him through school, and all what school means, and it was very C64 was an important tool in his school days. And today he told me he's a CEO of a software company,
that's great,
with a lot of people working for him. I thought it was such a great life story, so
definitely.
Yeah, Lasse, greetings to you.
Cool. And it's such a
stuff.
rare occurrence of somebody playing some random SID tunes on a synth in a pub in Finland.
Yeah.
So you get that bonding straight away that you sort of belong in the same league even if you're on the stage and the other guys in the audience, that you're sort of on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Regardless of that separation.
Exactly. And it's interesting that when you meet random and strangers who are C64 enthusiasts, it can still be the only thing you have in common. You can live completely different lives and have completely different opinions about everything from life to politics. But if you have C64, that sort of heart in common, that can be enough to, hey, we get along, even though we live so different lives and whatever. That's a really cool thing.
Yeah. There's something about this pub stuff and C64 music. I heard a story a while ago about some DJ friend of mine playing the Cobra tune on a karaoke set and he saw a couple coming out and dancing to the C64 Cobra tune.
Oh my, that is so good. And maybe they had no idea what song it was. They were just like, hey,
probably no.
This kind of cool 80s stuff going on, some dance.
Yeah.
That's comedy right there, I mean.
That is gold.
Seeing how common people react to C64 music, that's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
And hey, we also have to mention that we've been asked if we're going to go on Twitter by a few listeners. And to be honest, we actually were on Twitter for a short while when we were working on our first episode. But somehow back then it didn't really feel like our thing. But however, we're back on Twitter now as Retrogame TS. And we'll try to do some tweeting there when we feel like there's something to tweet. So thanks for the interest, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like when we started out the podcast, it was like, we should be on all platforms. And, it became a bit like, what do we do on Twitter, really, And
because we're on Instagram and Facebook and everything, so do we have time for all of these?
Yeah, Instagram feels somehow logic.
More our thing.
Yeah, because you can take pictures of all the retro gear we have home. You know? Especially you have pretty much more stuff than I have. But it's nice to be able to take some pictures of either hardware or when we're playing some games. So that's kind of easy. But Twitter is more like, what do you do there? But But now we're back on. So search for Retrogame TS.
Do that.
Yeah, that's cool. What other ramblings should we mention? How's life?
How's life?
Yeah, life is good,
Well, I just got some bread from the bakery. Push some bread bell.
Oh yeah, did you push the bread bell 3 times?
Yeah, and the guy gave me some stale bread.
Yeah. By the way, what game? This is a little quiz for the listeners. What game are we now referring to when we are rambling about pushing a bread bell, and the third time the bread falls from above, and it's so hard that it crushes the concrete when it hits the ground. Yeah. Well, that's a nice little quiz.
Yeah. But hey, there's actually something I did want to talk about. I wanted to talk about it in episode number 2, the one about arcades. But we skipped this topic back then because, I don't know, time restrictions or whatever. And I still feel like there's an important point to be made about this particular subject that I'm about to talk about. I mean, of course, we talk a lot about arcade games and arcade experiences, but I think there are some other sorts of games that are part of the arcade world than just arcade video games, like, pinballs and slot machines or whatever.
Yeah.
And, slot machines have lately become more and more like video games, if you've noticed, rather than the mechanic sort of stuff that they were in the 80s and early 90s. Of course, it's not my kind of thing, but I'm guessing it's not yours either.
Yeah, I mean, now if you walk into even if you walk into a gas station, or a restaurant or a pub, you see a lot of fruit machines, and
Yeah, they're everywhere.
they're everywhere. And also these kind of modern games. I don't even know what they are called, but you
Yeah.
pay and you play some sort of fruit machine.
Yeah.
Try to get a straight line of the same icons or something like that. And it's so personally for me, it's so far away from what I enjoy that today I think I sort of filter it away from me when I walk into a place that has those games. I hardly, I don't even, take a look at them because, okay. And they're always this kind of special kind of people who stand there 25 hours a day, and waste all their money, and they just stare into it. You wonder, like, what does this guy do when he's not here? He lives there in front of that fruit machine. It's very
It
special.
makes no sense to us, if you want to refer to these sort of real gamers, if you will. But
Crazy.
yeah, I don't know. Just it doesn't require any real skills whatsoever. You
No.
just push some buttons and hope that you win.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to talk about this because here in Finland, we have this thing called Veikkaus. And it's a national betting agency which is managed by the Finnish Ministry of Education, of all things, which I think is preposterous. I mean, of course, the money people lose on these slot machines supposedly go to a charity organization or something, but I don't really think there's anything remotely educational about pushing buttons and losing money due to bad luck.
Yeah.
Except, learning not to play the game if you have any sense. But hey, if you want to get yourself educated through games, go play some, Donald Duck's Playground or Leisure Suit Larry or whatever you feel like.
And if you play Leisure Suit Larry, you can learn about many things in life.
Yeah, how to order some prophylactics from.
Yeah, and also
From
Larry, when you play Leisure Suit Larry, you learn how to use save sex. So
Exactly.
hear this, listeners, be careful out there. It's a jungle hunt. Seek. Yeah. Yeah, the fruit machines and whatnot. It's so, when was the last time you actually saw a classic arcade game in a pub, or it seems like they're all gone. They've all been replaced with these curse word fruit machines, and that those modern, you put in money and then you just play poker or whatever. Completely meaningless.
Yeah, it is.
But pinball, that's cool. That's classic. Pinball, if you see that's really cool,
Yeah, there have always been sort of mechanic, and that's something that's still kind of fascinating about pinballs. That
Pinball machines you actually see once in a while.
Yeah, I do. But I don't know. It's just there's something about pinballs that still doesn't quite ring the same to me as arcade video games. I don't know what it is, but
yeah, I have a little bit the same.
Pixels are more interesting to look at.
Yeah, pixels and in certain occasions animated film, as with the Laserdisc games. I so much more prefer that before mechanics, But I know people who are really obsessed about mechanic games, pinballs. There's actually a guy here in Helsinki who is a pinball master.
Pinball wizard.
Pinball wizard, kind of, and he also repairs. He's a pinball machine repairman, and
Cool.
And completely obsessed with pinball machines. So that's kind of cool.
I think we talked enough about all that gambling stuff right now and other other arcadey stuff.
Yeah, we have to send a message to our young listeners. Don't gamble.
Yeah, don't.
If you want to gamble, you can gamble, but then you have to play Samantha Frost Street Poker. And actually, you gamble in Police Quest 1.
Yeah, Leisure Suit Larry.
In Police Quest 1, That's such a great game. We're gonna
It
talk.
is.
I promised the listeners now. We're gonna talk about Police Quest in our next main episode. In our episode 5, we're gonna talk about Police Quest and Leisure Suit Larry and stuff
all kinds
like
of
that.
other stuff.
What?
Because episode number 5 is going to be about 16-bit games, Amiga and Atari ST. So
Yes.
watch out for that.
Now it's out there. Now people know. Ooh, it's gonna be about Commodore Amiga 500, Atari ST. I'm disappointed because I'm not interested in that. Listen anyway. Hey, if you didn't have an Amiga Atari, listen anyway, because there's always some games you recognize, and we might listen to some music that you recognize and stuff like that. So yeah, it's gonna be great. There were. I would like to mention a few more games we didn't mention in the last episode. Boulder Dash. Some people have been, hey Bob, great games, but Boulder Dash was, a real favorite of mine. And it's such a cool little game and so smart game.
One of the most original puzzle games of all time.
Yeah, you're people who don't know the game. You are an ant, and you are running around in underground, pushing yourself ahead. Pushing away mud and pushing stones and collecting diamonds and avoiding things that are falling off above you. And yeah, it's a great game.
It is such a difficult game to describe as it happens, but
now I just realized that sounded like a complete nonsense.
Yeah.
It's an ant walking around avoiding stuff falling on his head.
And
Boulder
collecting
Dash,
diamonds,
We did actually have the Boulder Dash soundtrack in the background in episode 3.
I think we did, yes.
I think we did. Boulder Dash. And then Combat School. I thought that was kind of cool. A friend of mine in my village had that original game. That was kind of cool. I also remember before the game came out, there was a lot of ads for that game.
Yeah.
That I thought looked really cool. So, sort of a boot camp. You train and you are, shooting and running and all sorts of. I think there's some arm wrestling going on also there. And you are.
It's a very diverse sort of a multi-event sports game. That you don't really see that much in the sort of regular joystick waggling type sport game.
Yeah, it's definitely a game for attack 2, and you are free to choose if you want to play with a black or white attack 2. You and I should switch. You like the white, I like the black, and
maybe we should.
Yeah. Too bad we only meet, once a year.
If we're lucky.
Yeah, the Combat School was kind of cool. And then let's mention Law of the West.
Oh, yeah.
How was the theme? I'm trying to
you
come
played
up
it much more.
Yeah, I played it much more. Law of the West. But yeah, that's a cool game. It's kind of brutal. You can shoot innocent people right in the head, But
we're gonna have much more time to talk about more random games, but I think we should start focusing on our next full-length episode and wrap this one up. I mean, we've been talking about for quite a while already.
Yeah. That's really cool. And this was fun, completely spontaneous and unscripted. This was the premiere of Random Ramblings. It was kind of. I thought it was fun. I think it was
fun.
I hope you guys, somewhat appreciate this little random thing here. Like me and Jari being out of script and kind of wild. On the loose.
On the loose.
Yeah. But
hey, thanks for listening. And you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us even on Twitter now.
Yeah.
And if you want, you can also send us some messages on our email address, which is retrogametalkshow@gmail.com.
Yes. And so next episode, we're going to dig dug into Commodore Amiga and Atari ST. We will listen to some cool demos. We will listen to some music from some cool Amiga Atari games. We will discuss maybe a little bit of making music on the Atari, maybe talk a little bit about tracking, whatever. So next episode, Amiga Atari. Until then, take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yee-hoo!
Retrogame Talk Show.